Hide me away, oh Lord. 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 In the day of trouble, 'neath the shadow of your wings. Hide me away, oh Lord. Hide me away, oh Lord. Hide me away, oh Lord. Hide me away, oh Lord.
I've had 3 different experiences with children in my life. First, I've been the child of parents. As I was growing up, I felt like they could do no wrong, even though they knew better. And then my second experience has been as a parent of 2 girls. I have 2 wonderful daughters. We had some great experiences together growing up. But my third experience is watching as a grandparent my daughters raise their children. And so all I have to do is play with my grandchildren. And if I had known how much fun it was being a grandparent, I would have just skipped being a parent and gone straight to being a grandparent. But somehow that escaped me. But that gave me something that was important that most people don't understand. It is the problem and the issue and the gift of perspective. Perspective is being able to look at life from various angles. It's being able to see that in the difficult there is good, in the challenging there is growth, and it has provided a lot of experiences that I could handle better this pandemic experience we've had. You know, we've had to shut down at church, as you know. We have had to expect the unexpected, as you have heard. We've all lost our routines and had to develop new ones. We had to go places we didn't think we would go. We couldn't go most of the places we wanted to go. And that's true about life in general, especially about parents and their children, because you have to expect the unexpected. It's like when your youngest walks behind a swing set, and there's a sky scooter that has an open pipe on it, and suddenly her older sister busts her head wide open, and it's gushing blood, and you have to rush to the hospital that day. Didn't plan that day. Or the day that both of our daughters had seizures on the same day, and we were terrified at that particular moment. But as Lincoln said, if you could get a monarch to send wise men to give you in a single sentence the wisdom of the ages, it would be this: this too shall pass. And tonight I want to share with you the voice of experience, and I want to whisper it in your ear. I want to give you a perspective on how to live through the unexpected that parents face. You'll not remember a thing I say tonight, I can guarantee that. But you will always remember the emotions that I have felt and that you will feel. Because you discover there are 3 great truths that are bigger than any other thing that you can think of when raising children. And every parent needs those infused into their hearts and their lives. The first is that time passes, so don't ignore it. Parents struggle with time, and I understand that. Schedules are filled up. You go everywhere, this way, that way, everywhere. And you have all these things that have to happen. You may have 2 or 3 children going in different directions. There's band, there's dance, there's soccer, there's doctor's appointments. And then lately there's been Zoom meetings from school, and you had to guide your child as they tried to learn what they were supposed to learn. All of those things are rapid pace, moving items. And we tend to live life as a grab and go basis. And then something happens to our children. One day, they're moving a tassel, or they're a young girl walking down the aisle in a white dress, and you wonder, what happened? There's a song they play at weddings. I think it's kind of a melancholy song, but we tend to put it in weddings. Where are you going, my little one, little one? Where are you going, my baby, my own? Turn around and you 2, turn around and you're 4. Turn around and you're a young wife going out of the door. Turn around and you're a young girl going out the door. Where are you going, my little one, little one? Little sunsuits and petticoats, where have you gone? Turn around and you're tiny. Turn around and you're grown. Turn around and you're a young wife with babes of your own. That captures the experience of life, that time passes so much faster than we would like it to, or that when we look back, say, I wish it wouldn't have passed me by. Children remember things, and they're not what you think they would remember about the time that is spent. There's stories told about Samuel Boswell, the biographer. Both he and his father kept journals at the same time. As Boswell was growing up, he kept one, and his father kept one. And so someone looked at the same day on both journals. They looked at his father's, and the father had written, "Gone fishing today with my son, a day wasted." But in Boswell's journal, through the eyes of a little boy, said, "My father took me fishing, one of the best days of my life." Jerry Seinfeld, who has 3 teenage kids, puts it well this way. He said, "I'm a believer in the ordinary and the mundane. These guys who talk about quality time, I always find that a little sad when they say we have quality time. I don't want quality time. I want garbage time." That's what I like. You just see them when they're in their room reading a comic book, or you get to watch them for just a minute doing that, or they're having a bowl of Cheerios at 11 o'clock at night when they're not even supposed to be up. That's garbage, and that's what I love. That's the stuff of life of raising children. That's what Moses had to say to the Israelites in Deuteronomy chapter 6. As he tries to tell them about how to pass on the faith, he tells them, impress them, the commandments, on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk on the road, when you lie down, and when you get up. He said, your children are soft clay for only a little while. And then the day will come where they will harden, and you cannot make the impression anymore. It's in those odd moments of life that you take very cavalierly. The growth of your child will happen. I remember a day in 1968 in my own life. 1968 was a hard year. The Vietnam War had turned badly. There were thousands of young men who died in the Tet Offensive. By the time April got here, it was clear that things were not going well at all. And then Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated while he was on a balcony in Memphis. It wasn't too much later, on June the 6th, that Robert F. Kennedy, as he had sealed the Democratic nomination for president, was walking back through the galley of the restaurant, of the hotel, when a busboy stepped up and shot him and killed him. I remember that his funeral was on television, the second Kennedy in 5 years to be gunned down by an assassin. I remember sitting there with my brother and my father watching this morbid, terrible scene on a grainy black and white television. Everything was silent and quiet. Then, for some reason, my brother asked a question. He turned to my father and said, "You would die for us, wouldn't you?" Life comes in those moments. Don't let it pass you by. Use it well. How do you do that? Well, let me suggest something to you. It's called the 10-10-10 rule. There are things in life that happen that, are they important 10 minutes later? How about 10 months later? What about 10 years later? Anything that's not valuable 10 years later, don't worry about. It'll fall by the wayside. You don't have to do anything for it. And dispense with it if it's not a 10-year thing. You can miss PTA meetings if you like. You don't have to chair the committee. Get your kids to choose a single activity that they really do like and they're very good at, and quit going thousands of different directions. They'll be happier and so will you. And you have the time to invest with your children. Then give them the small times. Don't rush around. Sit around the dinner table. Talk, but more importantly, listen. Turn off the television. Put your phone in the other room. Let life unfold. Because remember, the time that you waste will always mean so much. Billy Dean wrote a country and western song that describes how fast life moves for parents and children both. And he reminds us that we need to let them be little for a while. I remember when you fit in the palm of my hand, felt so good in it, no bigger than a minute. How it amazes me you change with every blink. Faster than a flower blooms, they grow up all too soon. So let them be little, because they're only that way for a while. Give them hope, give them praise, give them love every day. Let them cry, let them giggle, let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. I've never felt so much in one tender touch. I live for those kisses, prayers, and your wishes. Now that you're teaching me things only a child can see, every night while we're on our knees, all I ask is please, let them be little, because they're only that way for a while. Give them hope, give them praise, give them love every day. Let them cry, let them giggle, let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. So innocent are the precious souls you turn around, then it's time to let them go. So let them be little, because they're only that way for a while. Give them hope, give them praise, give them love every day. Let them cry, let them giggle, let them sleep in the middle. Oh, just let them be little. Just let them be little. But the second lesson is just as important. Because you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. We are inundated with things on the internet, especially blog posts that have what I call dumb titles. They're written for Google to grab hold of and throw to the top. Something like 10 ways to be the parent your child wants. Now, I think those are usually written by people who are young, who have never had children, and probably never will, because they have absolutely worthless advice in them. And there are plenty of parents in therapy because they're guilty. And there are plenty of adults in therapy because they have been raised by parents who tried to make them perfect. You're not perfect, and that's okay. You're going to make mistakes. I guarantee it. My wife and I did more than we can count. I raised my voice to my children when I shouldn't have, and you will too. And if you don't believe how bad it was, all you have to do is ask my youngest daughter how bad a soccer coach I really was. Be prepared for a lot of time. So stop using yourself as a punching bag. Do your best today and then tomorrow. If you fail, put it in your wastebasket, throw it away, and start over the next day, because you'll be better tomorrow. And so do two things, if you will, to accept yourself as a flawed parent. First of all, realize, as the 10-10-10 rule said, not everything that you obsess over is important. Find the things that are. But second, when you fail, apologize to your children. The two hardest words to say in the human language is "I'm sorry." But your children need to hear that from you so they can do it themselves later. When I was growing up, my father, our family lived in a place where the church was small, about 100, no elders, and so they had the men's business meeting. I never knew what happened in men's business meetings until I got older, and I wish I didn't know then. But there was one night, I don't know exactly what happened, I don't even know what the issue was, but apparently it got pretty heated in the meeting. My father believed he said something he shouldn't have said. And I never forget that next Sunday he got up in front of the church and he apologized to all those people, even though only one may have been affected. There came a day where I had to apologize too. And I knew what to do, because I saw my parent do it. Don't forget. You'll mess up a lot, and just apologize. Your children forgive a lot easier than you do yourself. But the third is that your kids need you, so be there. Parents think that they can offload certain things to their children. They believe that there are so many things they need to do, they don't think much about it. And yet, the truth be told, your children don't need the class you think they need, the tutoring that you believe they should have, the activity that will keep them busy and give them a life skill for the rest of their lives. Oh, while they may be important, they really need their parent, not the teacher, not a preacher. They don't need anyone else. They just need you. They need you the most above everything else. And giving you your time and attention is part of the two scarcest commodities on the planet, scarcer than water in the Sahara. I have a fear as we grow older, as we move into much more technological areas. The fear is that our attention is so segmented that our children aren't getting it. Our cell phones are the entry point of our decay. We're watching Facebook feeds, Twitter tweets, a round robin of texting with friends and acquaintances, and everyone else in the world, while our children sit and wait for just a moment of our time and our attention. And whatever they need is more important than whatever Facebook will feed up right now. I always liked something I saw. Vicki and I went to eat at the Chick-fil-A at the corner of Preston and Park. As we sat down, I noticed something. It was a basket, and on the basket there was a printed message, and I guess I'm nosy as much as anything, but I read it. What it said was, place all cell phones here, and don't get them back out until you have finished your meal. Talk to your children. And I thought that's really a novel idea that should be replicated in every home in America and around the world. And if you don't check your phone, it won't make a lot of difference. But there are some solutions to the problem of our mental absenteeism. One, I think, is to eat together as a family around a dinner table with your phone in the other room and your TV off. I think we've lost the power of the family dinner table. Instead, we grab something from Whataburger or McDonald's and so we can hustle to the next activity. And so decide to do that. Time doesn't show up, attention doesn't show up. You have to decide that for yourself. So clean off your table if you can't find the top, and sadly enough, I know too many families like that. Set the table with real dishes. Or better yet, have your children help you so they learn. Put your phone in the other room and sit down and talk and listen and let lives meld together and blend. It will be some of the most valuable time you have ever had in your life. And you need to use those requirements for yourself as well. When my children were growing up, my oldest daughter struggled with history to the point that she almost made herself sick. Her stomach hurt. She had some intestinal issues. We saw doctors, and one doctor said, "You know what the problem is? You're not really sick, you're stressed. Stop obsessing over schoolwork, it won't make any difference." Very wise doctor. But that didn't help. She needed some help with history. She couldn't handle history. She was in an AP class and about to overwhelm her. So I remember that while I'm not the best history teacher in the world, I did have the time at night to do it. And so I sat down with her at our dining room table. We took out a piece of paper and I showed her how to take notes, how to study for exams, how to get the most out of her reading. And together, at that moment, with all my attention focused on her, her attention focused on me, somehow we made it out of history. And then came a crisis 20 years later, called renovation. We renovated our home. Now the problem is, because the space was bigger, we needed a larger dining room table because our family had grown so much. We now had 2 girls who had husbands, and each one had 2 children, and our old table would fit 8, and the math just didn't fit. But I remember as we started talking about getting a new dining room table, I was insistent on a single thing. That is, we don't get rid of the old one. My wife said, we don't use it. We can't use it. It's going to be in the way. I said, I'll haul it to the attic if I have to, but we're not getting rid of that table. Thankfully, my youngest daughter decided that she would do something else. She would take it. And as she would take it, she put it in her own home. And I was grateful for that. There's a reason that table meant something to me. In the varnish were left the imprints and the indentions of pencil and pen marks made on notebook paper when she was in the 11th grade. Today, I go to my daughter's house and I run my hand over the table so I can feel the indentions, because in those indentions is my life. It comes because we spent time together doing something important to both of us that we'll never be able to get back. So what do we know? Well, life is hard, not easy. We never get to the point, I think, where we hope that our children say, I don't need you. But that all comes because you take the time, give them their attention, and be able to be humble enough to say you made mistakes. Don't let them get to the point where they say, I don't need my parents. Let them know they can always come home, even as adults, because one day your children will need you, and you won't be there. I know, because I think of my parents every day. They've passed away so many years ago. I have no secrets, but I do have this one simple thing. Love your kids. Give them you more than anything else. Stop what you're doing, take time, and give them your attention. Perhaps it was better said by someone of my generation. When I was growing up, we had things called newspapers. You may not have heard of them. They were paper. They were rolled up. They were thrown on the front porch. You'd take them in the house, you'd unfold them, you'd read them. Isn't that a novel idea? In those papers, they had people that wrote in them. Today we call them bloggers. That time they called them columnists. And one of those people was a lady who died far too young of breast cancer. Her name was Irma Bombeck. One of the columns she wrote said, if I had my life to live over again, if I had my life to live over again, I would have talked less and listened more. I would have invited friends over to dinner, even if the carpet was stained or the sofa was faded. I would have eaten the popcorn in the good living room and worried much less about the dirt when someone wanted to light a fire in the fireplace. If I had my life to live over again, I would have taken time to listen to my grandfather ramble about his youth. I would never have insisted the car windows be rolled up on a summer day because my hair had just been teased and sprayed. I would have burned the pink candle shaped like the rose before it melted in storage. I would have sat on the lawn with my children and not worried about grass stains. I would have cried and laughed less while watching television and more while watching live. If I had my life to live over again, I would have shared more of the responsibility carried by my husband. I would have gone to bed when I was sick instead of pretending the earth would go on a holding pattern if I weren't there for the day. I would have never bought anything just because it was practical, wouldn't show soil, or was guaranteed to last a lifetime. Instead of wishing away 9 months of pregnancy, I would have cherished every moment and realized that the wonderment growing inside of me was the only chance in life to assist God in a miracle. If I had my life to live over again, when my kids kissed me impetuously, I would never have said, "Later, now go wash up for dinner." There would have been more "I love yous," "I'm sorry's," but mostly given another shot at life. I would seize every minute, but mostly I would look at it and really see it, live it, and never give it back. Stop sweating the small stuff. Don't worry about who likes you and who doesn't. Instead, let's cherish the relationships with those who do love us. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Hide me away, oh Lord. Hide me away.